first now to my international panel. I'm joined, as I am every Thursday, Tuesday, goodness me, I'm already checking out, aren't I, by former Labor MP Michael Danby, Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Well, welcome to you both. I want to start, if I can, with you, Kosha. Britain has announced really wholesale changes to migration. This is the legal migration, not the illegal stuff that's coming across the channel. But what's really interesting here, and I think this is a lesson for Australia, they're really cracking down once you get a visa on this idea that you get to bring all your family and your relatives. That happens in the UK. That will go. Sure, when you're a citizen, bring your family, but they're saying no longer on just a visa.
It's a big deal, and as we know, immigration is shaping up to be the seminal issue of our time, probably, in the Western world. A lot of the focus goes on illegal, as you mentioned, but legal is a big part of it too, and this whole concept, chain migration, is how some people refer to it, maybe pejoratively, but that's what it is. One person comes in, a couple generations later, you could trace up to even 100 people in some cases, attached to that one. I think what's going to happen, though, it's a move in the right direction in terms of what the electorate of the Conservative Party wants. It was a big part of Brexit. It's a kitchen table issue for them. But there's so much opposition on the other side, and the longer you wait, just the mathematics become more difficult because you've got constituents now in both parties who are going to be opposed to this. So it's going to take a steely spine and a lot of pushback to come, but I think it's a step in the right direction for serving what their constituency actually cares about.
Israel's had to issue travel warnings to Jews leaving the country or even Jews moving around internationally. And unfortunately, I'm sad to say, Australia is one of the countries they're warning people about.
Isn't that a shame, Peter? What a great country we are, and that we would traduce ourselves by Yasmin Catley, the New South Wales Police Minister, or Anthony Carbines, the Police Minister here in Victoria, not doing their job. I understand today the Israeli ambassador wrote to the Police Minister in Victoria and the Premier because they were not provided, the hostages at that Crowne Plaza Hotel. God knows, from the hotel's point of view, how they got that those hostage families were there, that they wouldn't provide police protection for them. They had to be scurried away to a police station. What a shame on those people. What has to happen, Anthony Carbines and Ms Catley? Does someone have to die before you're willing to sort of tell the police to do their job?
I just understand, just quickly, I understand too, in Victoria, unlike New South Wales, there are not police involved at synagogues and at schools. In New South Wales there is. What's happening there, do you know? Well,
they provide private security, which is enormously expensive, but people aren't whinging about that. It's just, in these public functions, that the police, separate the people but don't keep them away in Caulfield outside the synagogue, and service has to close, and then we've got, the hostage families being harassed at Crowne Plaza Hotel, a hotel whose name should live in infamy.
October 7, as more and more has emerged, and I've spent a bit of time today looking at some pretty horrific videos there about what was done to women and children, that women were gang raped by 7, 8, 9, 10 Hamas terrorists and then had their heads cut off, that corpses were defiled. Where is the UN on this, Kosha? Where are all the women's bodies on this? Because they are horrifically silent.
Horrifically silent. I think the sad reality is this is another example of those organizations not covering themselves in glory. And
yeah, but it's bigger than that. I mean, there were signs last night at that event in, I think it was Elsternwick, Michael, the vigil. Me too, unless you're a Jew.
Yeah, heinous stuff. But it's just a continuation of I think what we know, and maybe this is bringing it undeniably into the forefront, which is they're not cause-driven organizations or movements for the large part. They're agenda-driven, covert agendas, overt agendas. This agenda doesn't fit with, what maybe their other masters are that they're serving, and just the way this issue has taken shape. And that's why the silence is conspicuous. And they've been quiet for all sorts of other things, people that have been let off the hook. The trans issue, I'm not equating them. I'm just these are all issues that don't stand up for women's rights, and I think that just shows that they're silent.
And worse, Kosha, the woke far left deny that it even happened. So I mean, Hamas boasts of it, puts the GoPro videos on their helmets and distributes it, puts it live, and these wackos deny that it happened. I mean, we're living in an alternative universe where people are so siloed by social media and that kind of stuff that I wonder if it's going to affect us with terrorist incidents all over the world. They're happening everywhere.
I was just going to say, just on that, we know in the Philippines, it used to be different organisations in the Philippines, but it's been an ISIS declared event there. a bomb going off in a church. I think 4 killed. We know in Paris 3 were killed, knifed in the street by a bloke chanting Allah Akbar. And then there's this debate on television. I watched stuff over the weekend. There's a debate whether it really was a terror attack. Now, if it looks and sounds like a terror attack, I bet you it is a terror attack. I mean, clearly, and you know that there are sleeper cells, Michael, better than anyone, you know there's sleeper cells around the world. It feels to me like the jihadists are emboldened.
And they're working with the woke left. Down in Port Melbourne, there are crazy transgender people who are protesting against the export of Israeli arms from Australia. There are no Israeli arms exported from Australia. There are people in Brisbane boycotting Israeli restaurants because they use Emmanuel Ottolenghi's sometimes Arabic food. I mean, what is going on in the world? This is all upside down.
You try and be transgender in Gaza and see how far you go. I mean, this is the extraordinary stuff. Hey, just quickly, more race revelations in and around the royal family. What's the latest?
I think the big picture is that this institution is not impervious to racism allegations, and we see it at every turn. The latest is, I think, one of the journalists who's known to be quite friendly to Harry and Meghan had a transcript leaked of a manuscript that came out that names allegedly the person that questioned the skin tone of unborn baby Archie, and that's been retracted, been denied on the surface, but it's out there, which is a well-known tactic for those savvy in the PR machine of Hollywood, and I think people can draw their own conclusions about where that comes from.
And silence is deafening too by Harry and Meghan.
And probably that's part of the scheme, is what many people are saying, for getting stuff out there, but then having plausible deniability, but you still sort of plant the stories that you want.
Michael Damby, Kosher, thank you both